Hey there, all you true crime fans. I'm Amanda,
And I'm Corey.
and welcome back to Colorado Crime. You guys know the drill. We're just two best friends who like chatting about all things true crime. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this week's joke.
Why was Cinderella so bad at soccer?
I don't know why.
She kept running away from the ball.
I thought it was going to have something to do with like there were too many mice on the team or something.
No.
I like that.
You're welcome, podcastians.
I will share that with my 9-year-old.
I tell jokes for 9-year-olds.
Hey, that's okay.
Yeah. It doesn't
At
matter.
least-
I'm hilarious.
Yeah, I was going to say at least you tell jokes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, I'd rather you tell jokes for 9-year-olds than tell jokes that are not for 9-year-olds to 9-year-olds. So it's a win.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of like a 9-year-old trapped in an adult body, so I really wouldn't tell adult jokes to a 9-year-old.
That's fair.
If we're being honest.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if you guys hear ice clinking in the background, it's because I'm drinking cold coffee.
Oh, I was drinking chai, but it's all gone now. I'm a little bit sad about it.
Well, before we jump into this week's episode, we just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you guys for all of your support. We are really enjoying producing these episodes for all of you. So if you have any suggestions or if you want to ask any questions, go ahead and send them to us and we will answer them on the podcast.
Just slide right into our DMs. Slide right in.
God. I don't even know what to
say. Sorry, I was practicing. Sorry, podcastians, I was practicing.
Not for 9-year-olds?
I was practicing on how not to be 9 years old. They went directly into special alone time voice.
God. Oh my God, my stomach hurts from laughing. Ew.
This is supposed to be a serious podcast, and it just went right out the window right on that time.
I know. We're
Sorry,
like 3 minutes in.
Sorry.
Oh, God.
Okay, well, we'll move on. Okay, as always, we're going to shamelessly plug our second podcast, the Baby Podcast of Serial Killer Tuesdays. So, on SKT, we do a month-long deep dive into different serial killer lives. March was the month of the Candyman. April is the month of Sam, or rather, the son of Sam. So, please tune in Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time if you want to hear more of us, because one day isn't enough for you.
Which, I mean, we don't blame you if it's not. We really are a good time.
Yeah, I heard that this weekend, that I was funny, so I'm going to just keep going with that.
All right, friends. Well, let's go ahead and get into some true crime updates. We've got a couple for you guys today.
Or 10.
True. Well, on April 10th, 2023, another mass shooting occurred. I know, you're all surprised. This time it was at the Old National Bank in Louisville, Kentucky. 5 people were killed and 8 were injured. The shooter was a 25-year-old employee named Connor James Sturgeon, and he was also killed. 9 people, including 2 police officers, were taken to local hospitals. The shooting happened at the first floor of the Old National Bank on East Main Street near Louisville Slugger Field and Waterfront Park. The shooter used an AR-15 style rifle, according to an anonymous federal law enforcement source. Which, I mean, is anybody surprised at this point?
No, I'm not, honestly.
It's frustrating and it makes me angry and it makes me sad. Phone calls placed at around 8:30 a.m. EDT from the Old National Bank reported an active shooter in the area. The call was changed to an active aggressor report later. The employees of Old National Bank were in a conference room during a scheduled virtual meeting when the shooter opened fire. A manager at the bank said she observed the shooter through her computer. After the first shots were fired, the shooter began live streaming the event on Instagram until he was killed by officers of the Louisville Metro Police Department. The live stream was then taken down by Instagram. What a psycho.
Right? Right?
Wow. An eyewitness in the conference room recounted that those in the room heard a click and the woman next to him turned around and said, "What the heck?" before the shooter opened fire. Another had just walked past the conference room and thought the shooting was construction noise before being alerted of the shooting by another, who told him, quote, "Run, there's a shooter." Officers arrived at the bank 3 minutes after the first call. A woman who was at the intersection at the start of the shooting recounted that she saw a man lying near the entrance to a hotel before hearing shots and speeding off to a safer location. At around 8:45 a.m., the LMPD confirmed that officers had exchanged gunfire with the shooter, who died at the scene 5 minutes after the police had arrived on scene. 5 people were killed in the shooting: Josh Barrick, Deanna Eckert, Tommy Elliott, Juliana Farmer, and Jim Tutt. All of the victims were employed at Old National Bank. 4 of the victims were killed in the attack, with Eckert dying later the same day at a local hospital. One of the victims was Nicholas Wilt, who was a new officer with the LMPD. He was shot in the head. He remains in critical condition. The LMPD identified the perpetrator as 25-year-old Connor James Sturgeon, born February 11th, 1998, who was raised in Greensville, Indiana. Sturgeon attended Floyd Central High School in Floyd's Knobs as a teenager. A former student told the Daily Beast that Sturgeon was a star athlete and seen as a smart and popular student at Floyd Central. Another student claimed that Sturgeon was kept home for most of 8th grade after repeatedly suffering concussions playing football. After graduating from Floyd Central in the spring of 2016, Sturgeon moved to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where he attended the University of Alabama and graduated in December of 2020 before moving back to Louisville, where he was employed by the Old National Bank beginning in June 2021. According to a LinkedIn page, he interned at the bank over previous summers and had worked full-time at the bank for nearly 2 years. A bank manager recalled him as being, quote, low-key and relaxed. Shortly before the shooting, he was notified that he was going to be fired. Several of his friends expressed surprise over him being the perpetrator. Prior to the shooting, Sturgeon messaged one of his friends that he felt suicidal and added that he wanted to kill as many people in the bank as he could. According to a police dispatcher, Sturgeon's Instagram account featured mostly pictures of his family and friends and some dark memes. One had the caption, quote, "I could burn this whole place down," end quote. Another featured a GIF of a Kylo Ren scene from Star Wars, The Rise of the Skywalker, saying, quote, "I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it," end quote. And the last post before the attack said, quote, "They won't listen to words or protests. Let's see if they hear this," end quote. Sturgeon bought the AR-15 rifle used in the shooting legally 6 days before the shooting. The FBI had stated that the shooting did not appear to involve robbing the bank. The police have not specified a motive at this time. I mean, clearly it was revenge,
Mm-hmm.
but he purchased the gun
Or
6 days prior.
or maybe he was doing it, like, as a political thing.
That's true. He could have been, I guess.
Mhm. 'Cause, I mean, don't you think that won't listen to they won't listen to words or protests? Let's see if they hear this.
Yeah.
I
Sorry, I
mean,
was
that
drinking
sounds
my
a little bit
coffee.
like a no, that's fine. That sounds a little bit like
Politically driven.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I've been looking for some insight on mass shootings and things like that. And basically, the consensus that everybody I've talked to has said is basically there needs to be a longer waiting period because most of these guns have been purchased right before
Mm.
they're used, which is just crazy.
Um,
6 days is
m
not a long time to own your
m
AR-15.
my opinion is maybe regular citizens, like, oh, I don't know, you, me,
They
my
don't need an
parents.
AR-15? What? We don't
Yeah,
need
maybe
assault
you don't need
rifles?
an assault rifle at your house, and I don't care if you come for me, that's my opinion, and I'm standing on that. You don't need an AR-15 at your house. Sorry,
I
you don't
completely
need one.
agree. And I don't care if you're in law enforcement.
I don't care. I don't care.
No. And we'll get more into it in a later episode, but
Don't care.
no.
I know it's an unpopular opinion, and I don't care.
Right.
We've had 132 shootings this year, and there's only been 100 days.
Mhm.
So, I don't know if anybody's really good at math, but that's 32 more shootings than we've had days this year by assault
Yep.
rifles. And so, I don't know. I don't know what to I don't know any other way to put it.
Nope.
So, I'm gonna bust out with one real quick, and then you can go again because I know you
Sure.
have some. But, is everyone sitting down? Hold on. Mhm. Oh, there was another shooting. This
What?
time I know, I was shocked when I read that today too. I was like, "What? We had another shooting? That's crazy. We haven't had one in 6 hours." This one was today in Washington, D.C., outside a funeral home.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm. This shooting left 1 dead and several others injured. The shooting occurred shortly after noon on Tuesday, with officers responding to the 4,000 block of Benning Road near the Stewart Funeral Home. A funeral was being held and had just been let out. Gunshots were reported at 12:17 p.m. 4 people were shot in what appears to be a targeted event. What? It wasn't just random? That's weird. One person, an adult man, was pronounced dead on the scene, and I'm going to say something really fucked up right now. Good thing he was at a funeral home. And 3
But
others were taken and 3 others were taken to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. At the time of this recording, investigators have not determined a motive or identified a gunman. They are interviewing people to understand what happened in the events leading up to the shooting. The funeral happened to be for a homicide victim that had died in late March. The family had requested The family had requested extra police presence at the funeral, which is why there was a DC officer close by.
hmm.
Uh, like what are we doing?
Right at this point, we should just call this like
This isn't even news
National
anymore.
Shooting Podcast.
Right. It's not even news anymore.
It's not. And that's the sad
I
thing
was
is
like,
that
"Oh,
it's an
okay."
expected thing to hear about.
Mhm. Yeah, geez.
Hmm.
Doody doo.
That's awful. Well,
I saw a little let me just give you these numbers really quick. I saw a little blurb on how many mass shootings have been uh in the last since 2019. 2019 there were 417, which is still more than we have days in a year. In 2020 there were 611. In 2021 there were 691. And in 2022, we went down a little bit and went to 647. That is almost two mass shootings a day.
it's disgusting to me.
Mhm.
And honestly, we could do an entire episode on
Mhm.
gun violence.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
We
just,
could probably
it's
do another whole day podcast on gun violence.
absolutely. If we talked about every single shooting that happened,
Mhm.
it's just, it's heartbreaking and something has to change.
Yep.
And that something has to be people not saying something has to change and actually
Right.
doing something.
Right.
So if anybody has any ideas on how to actually do something, let your girl know, because I have kids in the school system, and I have family and friends, and I'm tired of reading these stories.
Well, and tired of worrying about sending your kids to school. And the answer
Right.
is not arming your teacher.
Nope.
Sorry. That's not the
Nope.
answer either. The teachers are not there to protect your children, and I'm not I that is not their job. Their job is to teach your kids. Protecting them is not having a gun in the classroom and not knowing how to shoot someone or shooting someone while, because when you're under pressure, you're not going to make good choices.
Nope. Nope. And then that teacher's going to be in trouble when
Mhm.
they didn't pull their gun, or if somebody
Right.
accidentally was harmed, or who's to say a
A
student
kid
didn't
wouldn't. Mhm.
overpower the teacher and get the gun, or
Yeah.
what if it got left unlocked? It's just there's
There's
so
two
many other
it's
things.
no.
That's not the answer.
I
And
have
I'm
teacher
sorry.
friends.
Yes. And they didn't go to college to spend
No.
their life educating our kids to also take a bullet for them.
Right.
They have their own kids to worry about. They
Mhm.
don't need to worry about an entire classroom full of your spawn,
Mhm.
my spawn included.
Mhm. Okay, what's your next one?
Well, I'm all spiced up
Now that we've
now.
lost 25 followers.
That's fine. You know, and that's totally your prerogative. If you guys
Yep.
choose to unfollow us for that reason, then that's totally fine. That's on you. But I would like
Mhm.
to think that our followers and our subscribers are
Adult enough
educated
to have a
people.
conversation.
Yes.
Mhm.
And to see all sides of it and to see that there is a problem. And you don't have to agree with me on what I say, and I don't have to agree with you on what you say. Because guess what? Opinions are like buttholes and everyone has one.
Right.
You don't walk around showing it to everybody.
Nope.
Well, my second update is that Richard Allen, the Delphi murder suspect,
Ooh.
his his attorneys are claiming that he's enduring prisoner of war like treatment. Mhm. Yeah. So, for those
Okay,
of you
bro.
who aren't familiar, Richard Allen was arrested in October of 2022 in connection to the murders of Liberty German and Abigail Williams in Delphi, Indiana. He is currently awaiting trial, and his attorneys are saying that he is living in a 6-foot by 10-foot cell,
Which
which
is a
is,
standard size cell for everybody.
well, they're claiming that it's no larger than that of a dog kennel.
What?
And right? My dog would, like, be everywhere.
I
They're
feel
also
like that's
claiming what's that?
I said I have the largest dog kennel you can practically get for your dog, and it is still not 6 by 10.
Well, like, my dog is in a tiny kennel. Penny's good, she doesn't have to be in a kennel. But they're also claiming that he rarely changes clothing, rarely showers, maybe once or twice per week, and he has had difficulty trying to get in touch with his family. He is in the Westville Correctional Facility, and they're asking that he be transferred from Westville to the Cass County Correctional Facility. They also are claiming that when his attorneys visited him on Monday, he was, quote, delusional and
What?
showed signs of schizophrenia, which, if you know anything
Now
about
they're just trying to go to a reason by guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity plea.
Yep.
Mhm.
But if you know anything about schizophrenia, typically in males, it presents in the early 20s to mid 20s. He was arrested in 2022, so maybe at the age of 49. If he's had a birthday since then, I don't know. I don't know when his birthday is because I hate him. Um, so unless he had like a preconceived condition and he was, routinely being treated for schizophrenia, I'm sorry, but your argument is null and void. It's not typically something that develops later in life. And also, you had a schizophrenic break and you went out and killed 2 girls and then hid for 3 years from it?
Well,
No,
yeah,
way more. It was
duh.
like 5 years, I think. I don't know. I hate him.
So
Also,
what
Lori
was he
Vallow is still on trial for
Oh, thank God.
murdering her kids,
I hope
and
she gets the death penalty.
I hope so too. They were talking about the actual discovery of the kids' bodies,
Mhm.
and they're claiming that, or the investigators are saying that JJ's body was buried, and it
Mhm.
was under some like damp soil and then some wood and some, kind of like twigs and stuff. And then Tylee, the daughter who was 17, was actually found in the quote unquote pet cemetery.
Mhm.
And she had actually been burned and dismembered. And her
Gross.
body was stored in like a 5-gallon bucket. So I hope she fries too, because
Mhm.
she and her stupid husband,
Husband?
which I don't even think
Mhm.
you can call him that, her spiritual advisor, I don't know. They're both a piece of shit and I hope they fry. That's all I got.
Oh, I have one more. It's not a crime update, but it's good information. Are you ready? Syphilis rates have surged by an alarming degree in 2021,
I saw that.
amid an overall increase in cases of sexually transmitted infections, according to the report the CDC put out today.
Wrap your
There was
Winkies.
There was a 32% increase in the combined stages of syphilis between 2020 and 2021. Cases of congenital syphilis, which is when a mother with syphilis passes the infection to her baby during pregnancy,
Hmm.
also rose by 32%. The spike resulted in 220 stillbirths and infant deaths. Screening for STIs is being impacted by COVID related disruptions, especially for chlamydia, which is often asymptomatic. Chlamydia rose by 4%. Gonorrhea rose by 4%. So, if you're a person who is regularly engaging in special alone time with other people, please make sure you're getting checked. Or, I don't know, wear a wrapper.
Wrap your Winky.
This is my PSA for the week. Thank you so much.
All right, crime fans. Well, let's jump into this week's mysterious case. This is the disappearance of Elizabeth Ann Miller. Elizabeth Ann Miller, or Beth as she was known to her family and friends, was born July 27th, 1969, to her parents Eileen Miller Taylor and Michael Miller. She had 6 brothers and sisters. At the time of her disappearance, she was an exuberant girl who had just turned 14. She was a freshman at Clear Creek Secondary School. She was a girl on a mission, some would say. She'd just been accepted into a varsity basketball program, and she wanted to be in shape. She left her house in Idaho Springs every day that summer to go jogging so that she could be at her best for basketball. The morning of August 16th, 1983, was no different, except for the fact that this morning her sister Lynn did not go with her. For some reason, that day she went by herself. She would normally leave a note for her parents to tell them how long she would be gone for, but for some reason, this time she did not. The investigative team does not believe that she left on her own accord, as she left all her personal belongings, including money she had earned from babysitting, at her house. Investigators suspect that Beth was kidnapped as she was jogging. The last confirmed sighting of her was at a park near her house.
So, The first person that they thought might have something to do with Beth's disappearance was a man that was seen at the park around the same time that she was there. He was seen driving a small 1975 1976 pickup truck with a white camper shell and license plates that were not from Colorado. Beth's sister had told the police that the same man had tried to talk and flirt with Beth in the days before she was abducted. She said that the truck had blue or black lettering on the sides. She described the man as fair skinned with collar length brown hair that was off to the side, and he looked like he weighed about 175 pounds. The man called himself Claude. Why? Was wearing blue tinted photo grade prescription glasses. He appeared angry after Beth refused to have a conversation with him. Police have been looking for him for years and have not found him.
There was also an unidentified man from Ohio that police were looking at for some time as well. They thought that he might have been involved in Beth's presumed abduction, but he has never been charged. In 1995, a serial killer from Mississippi claimed that he had killed Beth, but it was later deemed that his story was not credible. There was another suspect, a New Mexico man by the name of Edward Apodaca. Two independent witnesses came forward and claimed that they had seen Apodaca talking to Beth 3 days prior to her disappearance. They were seen inside a red pickup truck with a camper shell on it. The license plates were from New Mexico, and a matching plate with the numbers was later found on his property. Now here's where it gets a little messy.
Edward had a girlfriend. Her name was Viola Moya. She would go on to claim that she assisted Edward in burying Beth's body in the mountains near Idaho Springs. The area she indicated was searched by cadaver dogs. Those dogs did detect the presence of human remains, but none were found during the search. After talking with her, the police officially listed her as a suspect in Beth's disappearance. Investigators believe that she may know a lot more about Beth's murder than what she had confessed to them. They believe she may have been in the truck with Apodaca and Beth when he allegedly assaulted and killed her. But they don't really have to worry about her too much. And they'll be able to find her because Viola and her mother murdered Edward in 1990 and they're serving life sentences in prison.
Well, that took a turn I wasn't expecting.
Right? So, I mean, if they figure out that she did do it, she's already waiting.
Right? Why'd she kill him?
It never really said. It just
Interesting.
said
That he's tits up
her,
now, huh?
yeah, her and her mom killed him.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love you, Mom, but I'm not going to commit murders with you.
Mm-mm.
You're the best. Well, in 1994, investigators stated that they might have uncovered some possible evidence related to Beth's disappearance. In the area of Empire, Colorado, they uncovered several bone fragments, a piece of fabric that might have been from a shirt, and one single blonde hair. These items were found near I-70. The bone fragments remain unidentified, and investigators aren't even sure that they're human. The fabric was too degraded to determine where it came from, and the hair was sent to the FBI lab for testing, but the results have never been released, which is so common.
Right? Why even bother?
That's what I think. It's so expensive. Why bother?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to release it, like, let everybody know.
Yeah.
At least say it was or it wasn't hers.
Right.
Or at least say if it was human or not. Jeez Louise.
Mm-hmm.
Some agencies have stated that Viola led the investigators to the site where those items were found.
Frustrated with the lack of progress, Beth's sister, Lynn, decided that she was going to become a police officer, and 8 years after her sister disappeared, she did just that. Lynn became an Idaho Springs police officer. Then, a little while later, she joined the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office. She led the investigation into her sister's murder and disappearance. She was the lead investigator, but it really took a toll on her. She worked the case for about 7 years, and she thought she was close to solving it. So, Lynn, as a CCCSO investigator, went to the alleged burial site with some other investigators and began to dig and found a t shirt that was similar to the one that Beth was wearing at the time of her disappearance. She went to the sheriff at the time and told him what she had discovered. When she returned to the scene later on, a large piece of equipment had been moved over the apparent burial site, obstructing Lynn's access to anything of potential importance to her sister's case. The man operating the equipment told Lynn that he was just, quote, taking orders from the sheriff, end quote. She said, I can't remember if it was a bulldozer or a backhoe or what it was, but it was covering up everything. And it completely bulldozed everything. The trees, the bushes, everything was gone from where we had markers that the bloodhounds had alerted, she recalled. When Lynn confronted the sheriff, she was told, quote, she would be charged with interfering with an investigating with trespass and a list of other charges if she ever went back to that site again.
Interesting. I wonder
Yeah.
why the
There
sheriff
was
would.
a whole big the reason she even became a police officer is because of her sister and stuff, but when she started investigating more of it, documents had been missing, all kinds of stuff was uh, like the whole investigation was just um botched pretty much.
It sounds really similar to the Tara Calico case.
Yeah.
Where it was like the mayor's son who they think did it, but they've never proved it. And well, Lynn said the initial investigation was so badly bungled that it was impossible to complete the job. In 2007, the case was brought before the grand jury, which bolstered Lynn's claims. It pointed to documents and statements that were lost or destroyed and jurisdictional disputes that were at fault for slowing and eventually sabotaging the investigation. Lynn is now retired and continues to hope that someday Beth's remains will be found, and she hopes that anyone with any information will come forward. 11 years after Beth disappeared, her family went to court to have her legally declared dead. Her parents divorced and her siblings have tried to move on, but they would all love to know what happened to her. So, as always, if anyone has any information about this case, please contact Clear Creek County at 303 679 2393 or 303 670 7567. You can also leave a tip online at www.co-creek.co.us.
And you can leave those tips anonymously.
And unfortunately, that is where that case ends.
Yeah.
With Beth still missing, there isn't a ton of information. But if you guys have any information, please reach out and help her family bring her some closure.
I can't imagine how frustrating it must be to never find your child's body alive or dead. Like, that's how horrible.
I couldn't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. For her sister, how frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, her
To be
sister's
basically shut out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And her sister
Yeah.
has made it her life's mission to try to find her.
Yep. And still couldn't.
No.
Do you think she's really dead, or do you think someone kidnapped her? And
Ooh,
she's
I would
one of
love
those
to
Cleveland
imagine it's
basement, one of those Cleveland basement girls.
yeah, I would love to imagine that she's a total JC Dugard, but
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine.
Probably not.
Yeah. Especially when you start talking about the real probability of a serial killer being involved in her murder or disappearance.
I mean, it could have been. It was 1983.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he's dead now.
Yeah.
But I feel like she would be just as guilty. Viola. Well, should we move on to this week's questions?
The questions. Questions for us.
Questionroonies and cheese.
So,
yeah.
This is a good question. Why do you feel like there aren't more lady serial killers? Or have they just not been caught? I sounded like a game show host right there.
You did. You get a
Thank you.
car. You get a car.
I have been watching a lot of really, really old Prices Right.
Yes, you have. Someone won't
Come on
luggage.
down. Mhm.
I think there's definitely more male serial killers than there are
Yeah.
females. And I think a lot of times it's so messy.
Yeah. Killing is messy.
And
And not if you do it right.
well, and I mean, like, I could not. Well, that's not true. I get pretty feisty, but like it would have to be a crime of passion. I don't think I could just
Kill people to kill people?
yeah, like I gotta get real riled up if I'm gonna stand a chance. For
Well,
those of you
some
who know me in real life, you know that I'm like super tall, but the rest of you, I'm like a whopping 5'2". So
Well, the statistics are 74% of serial killers are from the US. So, way to go.
shocking.
We're just always high on these numbers. And of those 74%, 85% of those are male and 8% are female. So that's not a whole lot. And then the remaining percentage are killers that have not been identified. So either they're like the Zodiac killer. There's no way to say that he's a man or a woman because nobody's
Gotcha.
ever. Do you see what I'm saying? He's never
Yes,
been caught, so they don't know
for
if it
sure if it's a
is a
boy.
male or a female. Yeah, yeah. Women are a little bit better at killing because we're quiet about it. I would not because I'm loud. And
I
I
also
can't
think
keep
we
a
think
secret, so
things
I'd be
through
like, "Hey,
more.
poison that lady." So
True, you would.
right? So their careers and I say that because I mean, serial killing is a career for some people. So their careers as serial killers last twice as long as men. So they're more likely to use like poison or drugs or suffocation. They're not really the types to abduct, torture, or rape victims. So they're more in like a caregiving type of killer, like a nurse or
Like
like
that
a
baby
mom
killer
or
nurse.
yes, yes, or even
Ugh.
nurses in like nursing homes and
Yep.
such because they think they're doing something, and those ones are the hardest to identify because they move around a lot, first of all,
Yep.
to different nursing homes because you can only kill so many people before it starts to get suspicious.
Well, and a lot of the time, I mean, if you're in a nursing home or you're in a hospital, you're not doing so hot all the time.
Right, right, exactly.
You know, you
So a
couldn't
lot of
go
those
to a
weren't
nursing
even
home to die.
I mean, the sad story is, yeah, kinda.
She probably should have been a waitress at Village Inn because that's really where old people go to die.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, no offense to Village Inn, their pies are great, but I feel like it's a proven fact.
Mhm. So, I just think
Interesting.
probably they haven't been caught. There's probably been a lot more female serial killers than we know about
Mm-hmm.
because of that caregiving reason.
Yes, I agree. But I always think males will trump females in that department,
Mhm.
mainly because they're kind of hot-headed
True.
and kind of a little bit irrational sometimes.
True.
Ooh, I know the answer to our next question.
Okay.
All right, you ask it and we'll say it at the same time. You got to ask the question and we'll 1, 2, 3 it.
Who is your favorite sister?
1, 2, 3. Fan Annie.
Fan Annie. I love both my sisters equally.
I was going to say, but we love Holly too. I just know
um,
Fan Annie better because I worked with her.
right. So, in case anybody didn't know this or whatever, I moved to Illinois at the end of January.
What?
I know. It sounds like we're in the same room together, but it turns out I'm 1,000 miles away in my own house in Illinois.
Surprise!
I know. You thought we were just in a room chatting and this is what you were listening to, but no, turns out we're 1,000 miles away in a room chatting.
Could you imagine how long our episodes would be if we actually were in the same room?
No,
It
because
would
we
be
would never get
awful.
any effing work done.
No, that is true.
So
That's
they're
true.
coming to visit me on the end of April, so that
Woohoo!
will be fun. Yeah. Do a
Maybe
little
Holly will join
do a
our
little
podcast
sister
too.
yeah, do a little sister podcasting. That'd be fun for everybody.
Yeah. My aunts.
You have aunts?
Yeah, my aunts Fan Annie and Holly.
Oh, yeah, because 'cause I'm slutty mom.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Corey was a horse. She could be your mom. It's one of the very first things Annie ever said to me, and I was like,
What?
"You're right." Except I was
But
like, "No,
weird.
she couldn't. How old is she?" For those of you who
Well,
don't know Corey in real life, Corey does not look nearly as old as she is.
I
She
know,
looks
and
like
I'll be
she's like,
46 this year. Thank
I
you.
know, you look like
I
you're
know.
like
In my
32.
30s. I know.
And Fan
That's my
Annie looks like she's in her 20s.
I know. We have really good skin.
You too.
Well, it's because our sister died of melanoma, so we don't go in the sun. We're like vampires now.
I just
For
bought new
those of you who don't
sunscreen.
know, melanoma is a skin cancer, but it also turns into a regular cancer. So please wear sunscreen outside. That's my
Yes.
PSA for that. So we got a question about David Berkowitz. So somebody wants to know, is David Berkowitz on the spectrum? And according to a lot of my research, he's not. He was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. He did have an IQ of 118, which is just a tiny bit above average. So he was a smart guy, but he was schizophrenic, not autistic. A little bit different. But he was not deemed incompetent during any of his trials, so technically he's just schizophrenic.
I was going to say the same thing. I would not say he was on the is on the spectrum. I think he had like an inferiority complex and he
Mhm.
thought he was smarter than everybody.
Mhm.
Plus, the neighbor's dog was talking to him. So,
Well, that and
dude
he
was a
had
little bit paranoid.
his childhood was kinda effed up, like, I mean, you guys heard it, his mom had an affair, had a child, gave him up for adoption. His parents were decent people. His mom passed away from cancer, and his dad was like, peace out. I'm moving with my new wife to Florida, and you can't come." So then he found his mom, and she's like, "Hey, I didn't really want you, and your dad's dead." So there's that. So his life wasn't the easiest, I can imagine. And really, honestly, no serial killer's life is the easiest. So
But that does not
a
give
little
you a right
I
to
got
go
that.
kill people.
No, no, it does not. Do not kill people just because your life is jacked up.
No, go to counseling.
Mhm.
Don't
So
make
I'd
me
like
pull
to
out that soapbox.
I'd like
I'll
to give
do
a
it.
little shout out to my mother-in-law, Pam. She thinks I'm hilarious, so thanks for that. She sent us a new serial killer to research. His name was Daryl Groves. He was a serial killer in Denver when she was young, back in her 20s, like her teen years and 20s. So, thanks for that. We'll be looking to him for a future podcast. So, thanks for that. We'll be looking into him for a future podcast for sure. We appreciate all your suggestions and comments. We really like that. We enjoy reading them.
We do. And then our next recommendation was Gideon Long, and that was sent in to us by my Aunt Bonna. So, hello, Aunt Bonna. I love you. Thank you for listening. And we will also look into that one for a future episode as well.
We're just busy, busy people. Amanda's more busy than the rest of us, but because she also has real jobs. I don't have a real job.
I know, but really,
But I
right?
do have a handyman who's been here going on 3 weeks now, so I feel
That's
like I should get a job so I can pay him because he's like a job.
hey, but like in the
He's
best
really
way.
thorough. My house is gonna look amazing, but god dang, hurry up.
Unless you're reading. If you're reading, or if you're listening, you're doing great.
He's not listening.
Oh, he doesn't like us?
I didn't tell him about us so I could talk about him. How else am I supposed to talk about him?
That's fair.
Mhm.
Just know I probably talk about all of you who are listening.
He's super nice. It's just taking a long time.
I know, I agree. I do. I talk about all of our listeners because
You do. We do too.
we really do love you guys.
We do, even though we talk shit about some of you, like Christopher or my wife Candace, who wanted
That's true.
me to say that she does not always pull out the "I'm gonna pull out the saxophone" card, even though she really does. But she doesn't. She doesn't say she's gonna play the saxophone at parties. So there, I said it.
I don't have any shit to talk about Chris tonight, dang it.
Why? Is
I
he
don't
amazing
know.
today?
No.
He like did all
No.
his good stuff? No.
Well, yeah, he did make French toast for dinner and
Oh, that was nice.
it was so yummy too. I don't have anything mean to say. You're doing great,
Today,
sweetie. Thanks for
keep
picking
it
up
up.
the slack while your wife is
Working.
slacking. I am. I'm busy. I'm so sorry, guys. We missed Serial Killer Tuesday this week because of me, because
Well,
my
technically, we
life is
missed
just
it because we took a
crazy.
little vacation, and nothing is wrong with that. We can have a little vacation. It'll be fine.
It'll be
Everything will be fine.
fine.
It'll be fine.
It will be.
It'll be back. We'll
It
be
will be
back.
next week. So make sure you tune in because it's going to be a good one.
Of course it is. We're talking.
We're the best. Duh.
Duh.
Well, on that note,
Can't
crime
pat myself on the
fans,
back anymore.
right? Until next time. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Make sure to send in your questions for us. If you haven't already, please subscribe so you can be notified every time we upload. If you enjoy listening to us every week, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We love doing listener shoutouts, so make sure to leave a comment or a review for us. New episodes are released every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Please follow us on Instagram at Colorado Crime Pod or on Facebook at Colorado Crime Podcast for information on next week's episode, as well as other true crime happenings. We hope that you have a beautiful day wherever you are, and as always, stay safe.
Until next time, podcastians, have the weekend you deserve.